is the Marketing Mindshift podcast with Stephen Mueller.
Welcome back to the Marketing Mindshift podcast. Before I dive into today's topic, I want to give a friendly reminder out to our listeners and remind you that we also have an audio and a video version to our podcast. For those of you specifically on audio, you can find our video podcast on our YouTube channel, and you'll find other resources and additional information on our video podcast that you won't get through the audio podcast. So I highly encourage you to check that out when you can. Today, we're going to talk about first step in my 3-step marketing process, awareness. Brand awareness is a simple concept to understand, but not necessarily a simple one to master or achieve. If a potential customer doesn't know that your business doesn't exist or business exists, you can guarantee that they won't do business with you. So how do you make sure your business exists in the minds of your potential customers who don't know what you offer or how to find you? Think about the way that you find goods and services for your family. When you're shopping, you either buy what you've always bought, or if you're feeling adventurous or maybe some clever disguised new packaging got you, you might try something new. You may be motivated to make a different purchase if you've got a coupon, or if you recently saw an advertisement for a new product. Or maybe you're inclined to pick up a new item off the shelf because the label said it was healthy, or there was a new flavor, or maybe just because it's on sale. Even product positioning on a shelf or being featured on an end cap of an aisle are all methods of creating awareness to influence the purchasing behavior of retail shoppers, for instance. The same thing is true with restaurants, or really pretty much anything else. Anything new is almost always intriguing. Maybe your best friend went to a certain restaurant and raved about the food. And that's one way you became aware of a new restaurant when otherwise you might have driven right past it and never knew it was there. Maybe all it took was a Chick-fil-A billboard for a pumpkin spice shake that triggered your love for anything pumpkin spice that caused you to get in the drive-thru lane. Something, whether it was the price, the packaging, shelf positioning, a friend's recommendation, a TV promotion, all of those things are subtle and not so subtle ways to make people aware of a business, a product, a service, or anything. It's not rocket science. All of us are exposed to thousands of ads each day that attempt to influence our awareness on things that we purchase. Awareness determines the extent of which consumers are able to recall or recognize a brand. The more clarity that you have in your message, and the more frequent the customer sees your message, the more likely your brand will be at the top of the list when your prospects are in need of, or just maybe desiring your product or service. Even if your product or service is designed for a business audience, B2B, rather than a consumer, B2C, the principle is the same. Sales is a numbers game after all. So the first, and perhaps the most important thing that you must do is to make sure that people are aware of your business with clear and persuasive messaging. What types of activities or tactics are you doing to increase awareness in your organization? Brand awareness doesn't happen overnight, and unfortunately, it's not easy to measure despite its value to every business. Strong brand awareness is a result of being intentional with multiple simultaneous efforts that extend beyond the goal of getting immediate paying customers. Strong brand awareness is incredibly important to building trust, which is necessary to increase the number of potential customers that recall your brand without relying on referrals, coupons, shelf positioning, or advertising. Almost every brand that's not a household name struggles with brand awareness. And when you are a household name like McDonald's or Kleenex, you realize that the importance of brand awareness and mass media buying. They buy their awareness, essentially. Whenever I come across businesses that are struggling, if their owner allows me to be brutally honest, I will say that they have an awareness problem. Provided, of course, that they're delivering as they promised, that they've got their products or service priced right and of reasonable quality. Most small businesses simply don't have enough people who know that they exist. Simple as that. the business hasn't cast a wide enough net, and they probably haven't even clarified their message as well. One of our clients began to start realizing this level of awareness. When he learned the value of clarifying his message, combined with mass awareness through TV and social media, he realized a sales growth of 27.1% in just a few months. He put what I like to call skin in the game by investing in ways that would reach the ears and eyes of his target audience. While there can be more efficient ways to reach the target audiences, and sometimes it's necessary for certain businesses, mass media is usually the quickest way to reach a large volume of people. There were other restaurants that served the type of food that he did in the city, but because he had more skin in the game, he saw a bigger return on his investment. He is winning the brand awareness game in this market, his local market. And together with the strategic advice and the content creation services that we provide in clarifying his message, he got a significant return on his investment in terms of his brand awareness. I'm pleased to say that he's now become one of our raving fans. That's a lot. Let's summarize what we just learned. It's a guarantee that no one will do business with you if they haven't heard about your brand or your product or service at least once. It doesn't happen overnight, and it can sometimes be difficult to measure. Almost every small to medium business struggles with having solid marketing strategies to get more awareness. If your product or service is what you promise, you still need to have enough skin in the game to get noticed. Now let's move on. How do we measure some awareness? That's a great question. Generally speaking, there are two forms of awareness: offline and online. Regardless of the way that you create awareness for your organization, it's important to measure its effectiveness as much as possible. Awareness can be measured in a variety of different ways. Let's break down a few examples. Online awareness and social engagement. Social media and website traffic can be tracked through engagement. So in other words, how much traffic is your website generating? How many likes or comments are your Facebook, Instagram pages getting? Are people sharing the information that you post because they think it is valuable, or they want offers that you want them to know about? How high is your website ranking in search engine or Google results, SEO? Public relations. While you have significant control over your paid advertising, social media posts, or possibly even articles that get written about your product, service, or company by outside media are always beneficial, and you can easily determine the awareness there. But you can also gauge awareness by the publication's audience size, what we call reach. While there are audited circulation measurements for mass media outlets, there is no guarantee that just because your brand was mentioned in that to the eyes or ears of that publication, or even hearing your promotion, that they actually saw or heard it, since many times people are so distracted these days. Sentiment. Is there any discussion about your brand online? What is the general tone of the online discussion? Is it improving or declining? What is the frequency or quality of the mentions of your customer reviews that you're seeing? Are your customers telling your employees that they have seen your advertising at all? Are the social media influencers blogging about your brand? Are you getting complaints about your service or product? If so, that's definitely something that needs to be addressed, because we all know that people are more inclined to complain than they are to rave about something. Research. Time-tested focus groups can be of considerable value, particularly to the beginning stages of a product or service. Asking a focus group of customers or prospective customers if they've heard of your brand, or maybe if they're familiar with your advertising or know your company's product or service, is a great way to see exactly how aware people are of your brand. If they aren't, you've got work to do. Financial measures. This, of course, is where the rubber meets the road, and you can concretely measure your brand awareness on a financial statement. The more foot traffic in your business that you experience, the more people that are aware of your brand. If you're getting more calls, then that's a positive sign. If your website traffic is up noticeably, or perhaps a coupon is being redeemed more frequently, then that is a form of brand awareness that is paying off. If you're a service business and you're getting more leads generated, then more people are becoming aware of your business. If you're getting more referrals, your awareness efforts are growing. Depending on the type of business you have, you may be able to keep track of the lifetime value, the LTV, of your customers. To do this, you need to calculate their average purchase. Then multiply that number by the average purchase frequency rate in marketing. The lifetime value of a customer is a prediction of the net profit that can be attributed to the entire future relationship with the customer. The reason that knowing their value is important is simply because it always costs more to acquire than a new customer than it does to retain an existing one. Sometimes as much as 12 times more to acquire a new customer. Once you know the value of your customers, you can work on improving their impact on your bottom line by working to increase the amount of money they spend with your organization. If your monthly, quarterly, and yearly numbers are going up, you should know that you're going in the right direction. Conversely, if they go down, you should be able to ascertain what caused that reversal. Perhaps there were significant weather problems that caused this. Maybe there were changes in the marketplace, such as COVID-19. A number of things can cause financial numbers to go down, as we all know. It's your job to pay attention to and measure as well, as much as you possibly can measure, because as the saying goes, if you can't measure, then you can't improve, or that which gets measured gets done. After all, that's why you have a financial statement, to keep track of your sales and get your profit margins. So let's recap this section. You need to have some methods in place to track awareness and that if it is growing or not. My third and final point today on awareness is brand equity. As we wrap up today's podcast on brand awareness, I want to share a few final thoughts on the importance of awareness so that you can have a more in-depth conversation with your trusted advisors, such as your marketing advisor, when it comes to your discussions about branding. In most circumstances, consumers are believed to hold between 3 and 7 brands in mind when they consider buying a product or service to purchase. That said, their decision will ultimately boil down to deciding between just 3. If your brand is among those top 3, then you stand a much greater chance of securing more business. This is known as having top-of-mind awareness, or TOMA, T-O-M-A. And that's why improving brand awareness is so important to understanding the consumer purchase decision-making process. Indeed, brand awareness is so valuable that it is actually considered an asset that can be quantified on a financial statement. If your company's brand is considered to be number 1 in a certain town or a certain market or vertical, when it comes time to sell your business or to pass it on to the next generation, you better believe that you'll be able to command top dollar for that business, because you pretty much ensure that the new owner will benefit from all the hard work you did to create and maintain that vaulted spot in brand awareness. Marketers refer to what is known as brand equity, the sum of assets and liabilities relating to a brand, its name, its logo. For the assets and liabilities to affect your brand equity, they have to be related to the name and logo of a brand. If the brand's name or logo changes, it can have either a positive or negative impact on the brand's asset and liabilities. Brand awareness, however important it is just the first step in positively impacting your bottom line. The process of moving potential customers from brand awareness to the actual sale involves several steps, of which I'll go through more in detail in other podcast episodes that'll follow or in my book. So let's wrap up what we learned today. Awareness is the first step in my 3-step marketing and customer acquisition funnel. It's a guarantee that no one will do business with you if they haven't heard about your brand or your product or your service at least once. It doesn't happen overnight and can sometimes be difficult to measure. If your product or service is what you promise, you still need to have enough skin in the game to get noticed. Second, it's important to understand that not all brand awareness can be measured, but you need to implement a way to track it as best as you can, so you know if it's improving or not. If your brand equity is strong, you will gain market share and top-of-mind awareness. And lastly, I want to challenge you guys to take some time to reflect this week, this month, on both what types of activities or tactics are you doing to increase awareness of your brand and your products and services, as well as what metrics that you're putting in place to measure it as best as you can in your organization. I really want to know, so let me know in the comments section on this video, Email me through our website, message us on social media, and maybe we'll incorporate some of your feedback or your questions into a future episode of the podcast. Then in next month's episode, when we regroup, we'll move on to another chapter in my book and step 2 in my marketing and customer acquisition funnel on what to do with all this awareness that you're creating. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Mindshift podcast. If you're enjoying learning from Steven on this podcast, please be sure to show your support by rating, reviewing, and subscribing on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please make sure to also share this podcast with your friends on social media. If you're looking for more resources to help take your business growth skills to the next level, or for a copy of Steven's book, you can find that at getstevensbook.com. Thanks again for tuning into the Marketing Mindshift podcast with Steven Newland.
Order your copy of the Marketing Mindshift at getstevensbook.com and follow us on social media at Synergy Creative and at Steven Newland.